They got a shot, people. They have a shot. I'm Ryan Thomas. You're tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast live on Spreaker.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can follow me on Thomas Takeover. And in case you haven't heard, the Buffalo Bills are in the playoffs. Man, that sounds good. That is such a good few words spliced together. The Bills are in the playoffs. Oh, it's so joyous, such a joyous occasion. Here I am back on the podcast, and there's a lot to talk about. With this game. My first thoughts as they beat the Miami Dolphins, as they watched the Cincinnati Bengals play the Baltimore Ravens and finish them off, putting the Bills in the playoffs. Didn't really word that well, my bad. As they watched the Cincinnati Bengals thrillingly destroy the Baltimore Ravens playoff hopes, they propped up the Buffalo Bills playoff hopes, putting the Bills in the playoffs with that victory. And here we are. We got an opponent. It is Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Jaguars, former Buffalo Bills head coach Doug Marrone, obviously former Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Marcel Darius. There's a lot of interesting narratives going into this matchup, and obviously one that has kind of fallen by the wayside. Former Buffalo Bills linebacker Paul Posluszny. Remember that guy? He is going to be on the other sideline playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's played for the Jaguars ever since the Jaguars signed him to a 6-year deal as a free agent a few years ago, 6 years ago to be exact. He's coming up on the end of that contract, and he was a former second-round selection of the Buffalo Bills back in 2007. That draft, they drafted Marshawn Lynch in the first, Posluszny in the second, Trent Edwards in the third. I thought that would be a cornerstone draft. I thought that those guys would be on the team for many years, and it didn't work out that way. But here we are. Sean McDermott's first season in the books at 9-7. In terms of the regular season, he leads the Bills to a playoff appearance, which nobody saw coming, and anyone that did, you're lying. I thought they'd be 8-8. I thought that they would go beyond expectations, but I did not think they'd make the playoffs. And here we are. So, started the season out 5-2, finished the season 9-7. That's obviously a 4-5 clip at the end of the day, but it was good enough. And good enough got them into the tournament. So, what do I think their chances are? I've gone around talking to friends, family, you name it, and I have gone out on a limb, whether it be on my Facebook, my Twitter, Instagram, that the Buffalo Bills have a very, very good chance at winning this game. And so many people are thinking I'm crazy. So many people are thinking that I'm crazy for the thought of entertaining the thought that this is a good matchup for the Bills. But I'm going to give you a few reasons why. Why this is a good matchup for the Bills. The Bills' defense, specifically the Buffalo Bills' secondary, features not one but two players that have over 5 interceptions on the season, or have 5 interceptions on the season, and that is Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. Trey White, I believe, has 3 or 4. I haven't looked that up. My bad on that. Someone can correct me on that, 3 or 4. I know it's either 3 or 4. In terms of the pass defense, the secondary has been in the top 3 in terms of passing offense, passing touchdowns allowed. They broke the record over the certain span of the season. I believe it was over the first 13 weeks of the season. They only allowed 11 passing touchdowns. So that was less than, 1 a game, which was an NFL record. Not only that, we put that aside, the X's and O's of it. We go to the other side of the coin, which is Jacksonville. Blake Bortles is probably one of the most inconsistent starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. You force Blake Bortles to throw some turnovers or create some turnovers, and you're in for a pretty good day. So I like the Bills' chances at that. Statistically, they're right there in terms of creating turnovers. They got 2 players that have 5 ints on the season. One of them 3-4 ints, whether I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. I don't have the stats in front of me. But realistically, a guy that should be the rookie of the year. You got some dinged-up players on that Jacksonville sideline. You have a one-dimensional offense. You stop Leonard Fournette. You force Blake Bortles to throw. He will make mistakes. It's just what we've seen. Blake Bortles has had some good games, some great games, and then he has had some really, really, really bad games throughout his NFL career as a starting NFL quarterback. You can say the same thing for Tyrod Taylor. So this is a matchup with the two worst quarterbacks probably in this playoff going head-to-head. They both match up very similarly to each other. They're both built very similarly to one another. Very run-first offense, very run-productive offense with Leonard Fournette and LaShawn McCoy. The status on McCoy, I think he's going to play. It is not a real high ankle sprain. It is just an ankle sprain. It's not a devastating ankle sprain. It's just one that was a little bit nagging after the fact that he needed to leave the game. And as the week has gone on, he's gotten healthier and healthier and healthier. And I think that he's gonna play this Sunday. There's no doubt in my mind. There's an X factor to this team, guy that nobody is willing to talk about, but I'll throw him out there. And I know it sounds crazy, but Marcus Murphy was fantastic this past week versus the Miami Dolphins. Granted, it's Miami. It's not Jacksonville. Miami's defense is subpar. Jacksonville's has been fairly good all year. They lead the league in sacks. That is something to be, concerned about. But being that the Bills have one of the more elusive quarterbacks in Tyrod Taylor, I think that opens up the possibility for him to evade the rush and hopefully get the ball down the field, which he does ever so often fairly well. Not great, but fairly well. You have Kelvin Benjamin, you have Zay Jones, you have Charles Clay. You got a lot of weapons that the Jacksonville Jaguars have to worry about. They have to worry about these guys. I like their chances. They're going to Jacksonville. They're not going to Foxborough. They're not going to Pittsburgh. They're not going to let's just say Mile High or any of the other AFC superpower, home field advantage places, Arrowhead. They're going to Jacksonville. So I know that 20% of the ticket sales for this game were purchased from the 716 area codes. The highest clip for an away team, ticket purchasing percentage, 20%. That's pretty high. That's very high. I know a few friends of mine that are flying down to this game. So the Bills Mafia will be there. They will be there. And Jacksonville has had a tough time selling out this game. You imagine that if the shoe was on the other foot, if this game was at New Era Field, this team would have no problem selling out this game. There'd be no problem. This game would have been sold out in probably 5 minutes. And I would have prayed for whichever team showed up to dance across the Buffalo Bills in their house. Whether it's New England or anybody else, the first playoff game in Western New York in 17 years would have been a W against anybody. That home field advantage is strong. Maybe not against anybody. Maybe they would have beat Pittsburgh. New England, I'm a little bit They're obviously New England. But that's neither here nor there. I think that this quote-unquote home field advantage for Jacksonville is non-existent, virtually non-existent. And one dynamic of this team that needs to be thrown out there is that in terms of their offense, in terms of what you want to do with Tyrod Taylor, I would be rolling him out constantly on the move, getting him outside the pocket, whether that be to run or to pass, that's up to him. I would be getting him to evade the pressure outside the pocket, make Jacksonville's defense go after him, wear out the defense of Jacksonville, and make them go after him. Make them come get him. Don't leave him there as a sitting duck in the pocket, because that's what they're best at getting at. They're best at getting at a tall, standing tall pocket quarterback. Really, the matchup, I think, in terms of what the Bills bring to the table, is more dangerous for Jacksonville to go up against the Bills than it is for Jacksonville to go up against Big Ben in terms of Jacksonville's defense getting after Big Ben as opposed to getting after Tyrod Taylor. I think they should, if the Bills play this right, they should have a tougher time getting after Tyrod than they would Big Ben. Because Big Ben is usually a guy that likes to stand tall and sling that ball. Does he extend plays? Does he break contact? That's his MO as a quarterback. But Tyrod Taylor likes to be that athlete, likes to create space to run or create space to throw. You got to be looking to create space to throw. I don't know who Jalen Ramsey would be lining up against, but I'm assuming it'll be Kelvin Benjamin. When you look at Jalen Ramsey and how great of a player he is, he was highly rated coming out of that draft, I believe, in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. Highly rated coming out of that draft, and rightfully so. But going up against a 6'5", 230, 240-pound behemoth wide receiver in Kelvin Benjamin, I like those odds. Throw it up to him, 50-50 ball. Let's see if he can go get it. So this game is very, very interesting. This is one that I think is going to be close. I don't think Jacksonville is going to blow us out by any means. I think Buffalo is going to show up because they know how important this game is to their fans and to the state of their franchise. And anytime you're at this point in the season, you got Buffalo and Jacksonville in the wild card round. I like Buffalo's chances. I really do. I think the momentum is on their side. I think Jacksonville looked a little bit lackadaisical as the season wore on, and I trust Sean McDermott to instill an energy in this team, the likes of which we've never seen. And I mean, I'm talking about a guy that has very little talent on this team, but he propped them up to playing at this level that they currently are playing at. And Buffalo, if you're winning this game, keep your foot on the gas pedal. Don't let off the gas. We've seen that so many times, sometimes in games that they go on to lose, and sometimes even games that they go on to win. 22-16 versus Miami should not have happened. Should not have happened. Came down to an onside kick, frankly, that we got to work on that too. The onside kick unit, the hands team, whatever you want to call it, has been terrible in those situations for the Bills. So that could be something that needs to be tweaked, needs to be addressed. But regardless, I think that this could be a win for the Bills. I think if LaShawn McCoy is healthy, there is even more of a chance that this could be a win. You control the clock, you shut down Leonard Fournette, and do not throw or fumble. Do not throw any interceptions, Tyrod. Do not fumble the ball. Don't create turnovers. Don't give them the ball back. Do not give them the ball back. And I think that they got a shot. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Take care, everybody.